Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Khadijah Muhammad Isa from International Islamic University. Today will look into this question number 3, a past year question for semester 1, 2024-2025. All right, we'll go through this question on capital allowance. All right, we have not much. All right, we only have a few assets, and then under requirement. All right, the question asks you to compute the capital allowance, any balancing charges or allowances, if any, for relevant YA up to 2024. Yeah, all relevant YA up to 2024. And then part 2 will require you to state with reasons, measures to avoid or can be taken to minimize the tax liability through capital allowance. All right, so based on your working or your answer from part A help you to answer part B. Okay, so let's look into the question here. So question number 3, we have Meranti Senjam Berhad. We have Meranti Sdn Bhd as it account on 30th September annually. So whenever you have capital allowance, take note of the year end. Why? Because that will determine your basis period. And also for that basis period will also determine your year of assessment. So you want to know your year of assessment. Okay, so we have car, we have note number 1 and 2, we have computer note number 3, and machinery note number 4. So this was purchased on 12 February. So when you look into the date here, all right, you will have to decide when is the YA. So for example, remember that this year, this company year end is 30th of September. So it starts on 1st of October. So when I say that 1st February 2022, it means that it closed in YA 2023. Am I right? No, I'm wrong. No, it closed on YA 20, means that it closed on 30th September 2022 as well. Right? So when I say that it purchased in October 2022, so the year end would be 30th September of the following year, which is YA. This is YA 2023. Okay, so maybe I'll make it clearer. I think that I like it ball pen lah. Okay, again, so this one is the YA. So February 2022, year end is 30th September 2022. But October 2022, year end is YA 2023 because September 2023. And again, February 2021 means that YA 2021. So how do you get that? Because February, right, if you will have the February here, means that you close on 30th September. So February 2021 means that this one is also 2021. So that become your year of assessment. All right, I hope that you understand. First thing that you have to decide which year of assessment that you've acquired the asset, because that will be the first YA you're going to claim IA and AA. Okay, so let's go into note number 1. So the car, so this car, the cost is 230,000. Right, maybe don't do that. Right, the car costs you 230,000. And then the higher purchase price. So careful, yeah. So you have the cost and the higher purchase price. What's the difference between two? The higher purchase cost price or higher purchase price is the price of the car with interest. All right, so we do not want that price because what we're going to claim capital allowance only based on your principal amount or the cost only, not include your interest. And then you also pay deposit of 20,000 and installment is 84. So your first installment start on 10 of March 2022. So when you have 10 of March, so it means that you're going to pay up to, in this case, YA, up to 30th September 2022. So that is will be the first year. All right, YA 2022. So how many months is this? This is 7 months. How you know it's 7 months? March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So that is 7 months, right? So how's the working for question number 1? Of course, because this one is a hire purchase, now you have to look at how to compute the hire purchase. In this case, for example, you will have to take the cost of the motor vehicle, which is 230,000. Let me do it here. Right, the cost is 230,000 and you paid deposit of 20,000. So the balance of 210,000 over 84 months. So monthly is, let's do that, 210,000 divide by 84 months. So you have 2,500 ringgit per month, right? Per month. So in that year 2022, you paid 7 months installment plus a deposit of 20,000. So for year 1, right? So year 1, in this case, YA 2022, you have your deposit plus installment, right? For year 2, you have paid off your installment only for 12 months, right? So you have to compute. But remember that this is a passenger car. So there is restriction there. And the passenger car, right, you have a restriction saying that if the cost of the car, you have to check whether it's more than 150K or it's less than or equal to 150K. So if it's more 150K, you can only claim 50,000. But if less than this, you can claim up to 100,000. So this car, the cost is 230,000. So the maximum that you can claim is only 50,000. It's restricted. Yeah. So this one is a passenger car. So 50,000. Well, and then note number 2 further tells you that the car is used by the MD and it was agreed that 3/4, all right, is for private reason. So if it's a for private, means that you cannot claim 3/4 of the value. All right. So either you claim, it means that the one that you can claim capital allowance for the business is only on the balance 1/4. All right. So how are you going to do that? So let's look into the answer here. So for the first motor vehicle, sorry, where is it? Okay, let's see here. So we have actually computed 2,500. All right. So we have computed that 2,500. And then, all right, we have computed the deposit of 20,000 plus 7 months installment. So that gives you QE of 37,500. Remember that the restriction is 50,000. So the first year, the QE incurred is 37,500. The second year, so 37,500, you're going to claim IA and AA. So IA in this Y 2022, so this is the first year that you claim, you incurred the expenditure, YA 2022. So claim IA and AA and AA and AA. All right, 1, 2, and 3. Is that clear? All right. So now we go into the second year. Right, second year you paid another installment. Remember, total installment is 84 months, right? But in the second year, you only paid 12 months, right? So 12 months total is 30,000. However, remember, because we have a restriction of 50,000, because it's a passenger car, cost 230,000, we can only claim 50,000. So first year you have claimed 37,500, even though you incurred 30,000, but this one you cannot claim. You can only claim the balance of 12,500. Right, so 12,500 is your qualifying expenditure for YA 2023. So that's why you claim IA and AA based on 12,500, 20%, 20%, and claim another 2024, claim another annual allowance of 2,500. However, remember that it was mentioned in note number 2 that amount claimable is only 1/4. All right. So if you can only claim 1/4, if in 2022 the available amount of CA is 15,000, 1/4 is only 3,750. In 2023, if 12,500, then you can only claim 3,125. 2024, 10,000 total allowance, you can only claim 2,500. So that is the amount claimable on the passenger car. Okay. There is another way of doing it whereby what you do is that is similar, all right, in terms of getting the installment payment. It's just that when you want to compute the installment here, all right, for the first year, all right, first year you have deposit of 20,000, same, right? Let's see here. This one, hold on. Let me have it warna blue. Tak nak warna hijau. Right? So it's the same, 20,000 plus the 9 months. However, you times by 1/4 here immediately. All right? But take note that the amount of restriction is 50,000 times by 1/4. So you have actually restricted the amount that you can claim from the very beginning. So mean that from the 50,000, you can only claim 12,500 total qualifying expenditure. So in the first year, you have allocated 1/4, that is 9,375. Based on this amount, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. Is that clear? All right. In the second year, similarly, 2,500 times by 12 months, but times by 1/4. So you have actually apportioned the amount based on the qualifying. So 7,005, but you can only claim 3,125. Why? Because first year you have claimed 9,375, but maximum that you can claim is only 12,500. So the balance here is only 3,125. All right. So based on 3,125, you claim 20% IA and AA in 2023 and claim another 20% AA in 2024. And you can see that the answer, all right, either you use the first method, all right, the amount that you can claim is the same, right? So we have two ways of a schema. If the student answer in such a way, this is the schema, or you can also answer the other way. Both answer must be the same. All right, either you're using first method or second method, your CA claimable is the same. All right, so that is on your motor vehicle. Is that clear? All right, so that is the car you settle 1 and 2. Now we have the other one. So now we have a new computer was purchased. All right, purchase new computer. So we have new computer that you purchased in September 2024. Which YA is that? This is also YA 2024. Why? Because this YA 2024 September. So this is YA 2024. That cost you 5,006 to replace the existing computer. Which is the existing computer? Note number 3 say you purchased the computer on 8 October 2022. The cost is 3,500. So it means that in this note number 3, you have two. One is the old computer, the other one is the new computer. All right. So the old computer is disposed, a new computer was acquired. So how are you going to do that? You have to do two computation. All right. But take note that the old computer, you have to deal with the old one first. All right. The old one you purchase on, when did you purchase? You purchased on 8 October 2022. So 8 October, so this one not so clear. 8 October 2022 to 7 October 2023. So this is the first year. All right. And then you dispose, when do you dispose? You dispose that on 25th September. 25th September, all right, which is earlier than this. Right, you dispose on 25th September 2024, which is earlier than 7 October, because complete 2 years is 7 October 2022, but you dispose the asset before 2 years. So when there's a disposal within 2 years, there's no commercial justification, all right, was provided. So you have to claw back. So how are you going to do this clawback? Whatever allowance that you have claimed will be treated as a balancing charge in the year of disposal. So how are you going to do that? For the old computer, all right, we have the QPE is 3,500. Remember that for computer, the rate is 40 and 20%. So in your exam, all right, normally in the final exam, you will be given the appendix on the first few pages. So you'll be given the rate here, and you see that the ICT equipment is here. The rate is 40 and 20%. All right, so be careful that on the rate given, so you use the rate given in the question. So we'll have here for the computer, all right, for the computer here, we have, mana dia? Okay, rate is 40 and 20, and you acquired in YA 2023. Remember that just now you acquired in YA 2023. Where's the computer? Acquired in YA 2023 here, yeah? So now claim IAAA, and then you dispose in, kenapa dia macam tu? Okay, you dispose the computer in YA 2024. Kenapa dia macam ni? You dispose in YA 2024, so there is no, mana pula aku punya ni. Pardon. All right. Remember that there's no allowance claim in YA 2024, because that is the year of disposal. Right. So from here, you see your RE is 3,500 minus whatever amount that you have claimed, 2001. So RE is 1,004. And it was told that the computer was donated. So the sales proceed is zero, because you donate, you don't get anything in return. So your proceed is zero, but all right, rather than having a balancing charge in this case, supposedly, all right, it's a balancing allowance. Supposedly, it's a balancing allowance of 1,005, but because disposal within 2 years, all right, you are going to claw back the asset. What do you mean by claw back? Whatever that you have claimed on the asset will be treated as a capital allowance will be treated as a balancing charge in the year of disposal, which is YA 2024. Okay, all right, settle. So whenever you have that kind, you have to provide some reason lah, all right, on your treatment. Why is it like that? So you give a brief explanation only lah, why you treat that as a balancing charge. All right, on the new computer, it's very straightforward. The cost is 5,006. IAAA is 40 and 20%. So you're going to claim that in YA 2024, IA 40 and 20%. Very straightforward. Okay, and then there is your computer. And then we have another asset, which is the machine was purchased and company incurred. So what is this machine? Note number 4, refer to this machine 280,000, which was purchased on 19 February 2021. And this is YA 2021, right? Because year end 30th September. So be careful with the year end so that you know which YA you are referring to. So when you acquire the asset in YA 2021, the cost is 280,000, but you incur additional 30,000 ringgit and 22,000 for the purpose of installation and prepare site for the installation. So we have two kind of costs here. We have the installation, and this one is what we call PCTL, preparing, cutting, tunneling, and leveling of land to prepare for the installation of the machine. So, and then the company ceased to use the machine, and then it was disposed for 105,000 on 10 September 2024, which is YA 2024, disposal for 105. And then you also have to incur, dismantle, and remove the machine. You have to incur additional cost of 10,000 ringgit. So based on this information, you have to determine number 1 is what is the qualifying expenditure. All right, based on the cost, installation, and the PCTL. Once you have determined the QE, then compute what is your capital allowance. And number 3, what is your, in this case, whenever there's a disposal, whether it's a balancing charge or balancing allowance. Of course, you have to compute your RE first. Yeah, so whenever there's a disposal. Okay, so let's look into the answer. So for the machine, all right, you have to check, because when you have PCTL, all right, you have to check the 10% rule. All right, what is the 10% rule? It says that your PCTL, right, your PCTL, preparing, cutting, tunneling, and leveling of land, if it's less than 10%, then it's okay. All right, if more than 10%, then it's a non-qualifying. So okay, here I put it as qualifying. Okay, so what you do have, you have to put in everything. Okay, so the cost is 280,000, and then you have installation of 30,000, preparation of PCTL of 22,000. Total cost is 332,000. So the rule is 10%, right? Because if it's less than 10%, it's qualifying. So you see that the 10% of total is 33.2. But the PCTL here is less than 10% of the total cost. So when it's less than 10%, then it's a qualifying expenditure. So you need to provide the computation here. You need to provide me also the reasoning or the treatment of that PCTL. All right. So from here, you know that, okay, the PCTL is qualifying. So total cost 332 is qualifying. However, if, right, if your PCTL is more than, so more than 10%, then this one may not be qualifying, right? So you only take the cost of the installation only, right? If this one is non-qualifying, right? If it's a non-qualifying, then you only take the cost and installation as your qualifying expenditure. Is that clear? So now we delete lah, nanti confuse pula. Right? Okay. So once you have identified the QE, then you compute based on YA 2021. How do you know it's YA 2021? Remember that the question just now, we have identified that it was acquired in YA 2021 here, right? YA. So it's very important. So you acquire in 2021. Where's the machine? Okay. So IA, and remember that it's a machine, so the rate is 20 and 40%. Okay. So then what you do is that claim IA and AA 20%, 14%, and IA another 40, another 14%, and another 14%. And 2024, there's no claim of AA because this one is the year of disposal. So what you do is that you compute your residual expenditure. How to compute your RE? Your 332, the qualifying, and then minus all the allowance that you have claimed on the asset. All right, so 332 minus total of the allowance claim, you should get RE of 126,160. And then you also have to incur cost to dismantle, and this cost is added to your RE. So RE instead of 126, now you have RE of 136,000, and the sales price or sales proceed of the machine was 105,000. So from there you compare, you see that you can sell less than the value of the asset. So in this case, it's a balancing allowance, or in other words, it's a loss on disposal. Yeah, we call it as a balancing allowance. So balancing allowance later will be put together with your capital allowance for YA 2024. All right, so that is on the first part where you are required to compute the capital allowance on all of the asset. So this question, not many asset, right? We only have your car that you have to have a higher purchase and restriction 50,000, and also use only 1/4 claimable. On the computer, there's a disposal of the computer where you have to claw back, and the new computer acquired in the 2024. On the machine, tests you on the cost, installation, and PCTL. And also there's a disposal where you have to compute what is the, whenever there's a disposal, always compute your RE and then check whether there's a balancing charge and balancing allowance. And in this case, you have additional dismantling costs. All right, that will be part of your added together to your RE. Right? And what are the measures? Of course, in this case, you do have clawback. So maybe how can you clawback? It means that is a balancing charge which the company has to pay additional cost, additional tax on the balancing charge. So what you can do is to avoid clawback. So do not dispose your asset within 2 years without any commercial justification. And the other one, what can you do is that try to, what's the answer? All right, dispose computer after to avoid clawback. Give commercial justification on the disposal of the computer. So even though if you have commercial justification, so even it's within 2 years, it's allowable. There's no clawback, but you need that commercial justification. And then do not buy car more than 150, because that will amount, the amount that you can claim is restricted to 50,000 only. And we can also accept any other acceptable answer. All right. If you're creative, all right, you can think of something else. That's okay. It's acceptable as long as it makes sense. Yeah. So I think that's all for today on the revision on how to attempt question on the capital allowance. And again, this question, one question will be in your final exam. All right. So I hope that you have a good understanding, right, and be able to do or score your marks in the final exam on this topic, capital allowance. I wish you all the best. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.